Consequence. Noun. 1. Countable. Consequence of something. For somebody. Something. A result of something that has happened. This decision could have serious consequences for the industry. 200 people lost their jobs as a direct consequence of the merger. He drove too fast with tragic consequences. To suffer, face, take the consequences of your actions. Have you considered the possible consequences? 2. Uncountable, formal, importance. Don't worry, it's of no consequence. People of some consequence in the art world. 3. Consequences, uncountable, British English. A game in which each player writes the first line of a story on a piece of paper and then passes it to the next player, who writes the second line, and so on. Each player folds the paper so that the next player cannot see what is already written. The result is a number of crazy and often funny stories. The stories follow a pattern that always begins with the names of two people and ends with the sentence, and the consequence was. Extra examples. Her documentary examines the consequences of laws allowing reduced sentences for drug offenders. Hundreds of people lost their jobs as a direct consequence of the merger. I'd never done anything of consequence in my life. Matters of justice are of great consequence. Minor slips are of no consequence. Scorsese's first feature film of any consequence. The act could have certain unintended consequences. The employer is liable for compensation payable in consequence of injury to one of its employees. The kidnappers threatened him with dire consequences if their demands were not met immediately. The majority of these losses are of little consequence. The practical consequences of his decision were considerable. The practice had far-reaching environmental consequences. There could be grave consequences for the economy. They cannot predict the precise consequences of an increase in average temperature. They fear the consequences of rebellion. They help women cope with the emotional consequences of miscarriage. This could have serious consequences for the economy. This is a tragic yet unavoidable consequence of war. You must accept the full consequences of your actions. A debate with potentially significant legal consequences. A great deal look at war and its consequences on human life. A new sonar system that could have deadly consequences for whales. Better planning to ensure that there are fewer unanticipated consequences. The important electoral consequences that will follow from this decision. The links between dietary choices and health consequences. The negative consequences resulting from previous alcohol and drug use. To face up to physical consequences of aging. Actions have consequences. At some point, you will have to face the consequences of your actions. Don't worry, it's of no consequence. Fearing the consequences, she left the company. His work made him a person of some consequence in the art world. This decision could have serious consequences for the future of the industry.